Thank you to Dehancer for sponsoring the video. What up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a very cool thing to talk about, and that is this Dehancer tool plugin that you can use with DaVinci, Final Cut, or Adobe Premiere. Dehancer is one of those things that I've heard about in the coloring space for a very long time, but I've never actually had the opportunity to use it. So when Dehancer reached out to me to ask me to test it out and give my thoughts on it, it was kind of a no-brainer. One of the things I do want to mention is that Dehancer was very specific in that I give my own opinion on this and whether or not I like it. Part of their whole mission is that they wanted to let creators use it so that way they can give feedback, build on it, make it better. So I'm going to give you my 100% honest opinion. And spoiler alert, it's a pretty good opinion. Part of what makes Dehancer maybe not everyone's first choice is partly because of the cost for it, but I think if you're able to afford it, it is one of the most versatile and one of the most in-depth tools I've been able to use when it comes to coloring. And if this is something that you do end up deciding that you do want, go ahead and click the link down below in the description because you can get 10% off whatever subscription you decide to buy. So with that out of the way, I do want to preface this video with two things. First, I am not going to go super in depth into every little detail that this Dehancer plugin tool has to offer, and that's just because I personally will never use some of the features that it offers. Now, if you're like an actual true in-depth colorist that needs multiple tools and different facets to create different looks and styles for different projects that you're working on, then I think this tool has exactly what you're looking for. The only thing is that I'm not that person. I'm not that person. I'm working on multiple projects, doing different styles for, different shoots that we need to be doing. I'm more of the person that has a pretty streamlined way of shooting, who has a pretty set style. So a lot of the times I'm just trying to find something that'll help me be very efficient and also do what I need it to do when I need it. And that's what I think this plugin does. The second thing is I'm also only going to be dragging the Dehancer tool onto the node. I'm not going to build a node tree structure like I normally would. And that's just because I'm still trying to figure out what my best node tree structure is with this. Dehancer has their own preferred way to do it. And I think it's a great starting point. But for me personally, I like to fine tune my things. So I'm still trying to figure that out. And once I do figure that out, I'll share that on my socials or something. But at least for now, I'm just going to drag the tool onto the node and then show you what that node has to offer. So with that being said, let's dive into it. So once you have DaVinci open, the first thing you got to do is obviously upload the Dehancer tool plugin. I've already done that, so I'm not going to go through it, but Dehancer does have a really good PDF on how to do that step by step. So once you do that, you're off to the races. Now, the first thing I do want to mention is that to apply the Dehancer tool plugin is a little different than your normal power grade. So normally on a power grade, you'd come up here to the gallery, you'd go ahead and select, from your list of power grades and then apply that. The way that you're actually going to do it this way is you're going to come over here to effects. You're going to go into the search bar and type in Dehancer, and you're going to drag and drop that. And then once you do that, the Dehancer tool is now applied. I have an extra node here just to adjust the exposure because I already know it's overexposed. And I think I already brought it down. So we're going to go ahead and leave it like that. But if we come over here to the second node, the first thing off rip is that it just doesn't look good. And that's because we haven't adjusted the source for it. So we come up here and we go ahead and choose the camera that I filmed on. This one is the Fujifilm. So we'll go have Fujifilm and then X-T4, and there you go. It already looks better. And then down here, you have the option to adjust certain things within it. So you have the exposure, the temperature, the tint, defringe, and defringe radius. From what I can see, I feel like this is actually applying it to the actual grade itself and not necessarily the source clip. If you want to adjust the exposure, the contrast, and stuff like that, I would recommend do that upstream on a different node. Don't do it on this one. Just to keep things, one, organized, and two, that way you know definitively that you're adjusting the actual clip itself and not the actual grade. So moving on. If we scroll down just a little bit, we can see that we have the film portion right here, and this is kind of where it gets really exciting. So if we disable it, we can see that this is just the regular Rec 709 version of this. But if we re-enable it, now it's applying the actual film light. So if we go ahead and click on this, we can see that Dehancer has an absolute huge catalog of different film stocks for you to choose from. We have CineStill 50D, which personally, so exciting. So you have CineStill 50D, you have 800T, then if you scroll down a little bit more, you can see like some of the big names here, like Kodak Gold 200. We go a little bit, Kodak Portra 160. I think there's, Then you have 400 and 800 as well. To be honest with you, to have this many film stocks at your disposal is not only great for video, but it's also great for photos as well. And I'm gonna get into that in a little bit because Dehancer also has a mobile version of this, which is just as robust as the desktop version. I'm getting ahead of myself, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But for this one, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it on where it was originally at with Vision 3 250D. And then if we scroll down a little bit, we can also see that there's some closed tabs here like film developer and film compression. This is gonna help you just fine tune the grade just a little bit more. So you can adjust the white point. You can also adjust the black point as well, how much it's actually impacting the image. You can kind of see it's ever so slightly adjusting the highlights there. I usually leave these closed. I haven't really messed with them a ton because again, most of my adjustments are happening upstream. So I usually just leave those alone. But if we come down here, we can see we can expand the image as well. So if I go ahead and adjust the black point, you can see that if we go down, we're actually bringing up the shadows. And if we go higher, we're crushing them a bit more. Let me add just a little bit in here. I think that's great. We'll leave that there. And then if we come down here, we can also adjust like what the film emulation is being printed on. So right now it's on linear, but if we go down here, we can see that we have a few different options. Fujifilm 3513, Kodak 2383, which is what I would say most people try to film emulate here on YouTube and like just across film emulations on the internet. And then you also have Kodak Endura Glossy Paper. Glossy Paper is really cool on the mobile version because I use it a lot for like editing photos. So let's kind of see what they look like. So we'll click on Fujifilm first. Ooh, very contrasty, kind of desaturated. If we go 2383, still just as contrasty, but it kind of brings a little bit more color into it. And then if we look at Endura, a lot of color. So I'm someone who likes to have rich, deep colors. So right off rip, Endura looks like it's probably the best for me, at least for this clip. So I'll just leave it like that and we'll go ahead and go down. You also have color head as well, where you can actually adjust some of those fine, minute colors. I'm gonna leave it closed. Then we come to film grain. So grain is one of those things that I have a very harsh opinion on, and Dehancer does an okay job at it. I don't think it's the worst. I think it's better than DaVinci's film grain. So if you do have this option, go ahead and use it. But to be honest with you, there are better things out there. Like for example, I don't use film grain on my videos. I use, there's this dude on YouTube who managed to capture the RE sensor's noise output and then made that into an overlaying video clip that you can put onto your video to give you noise. I like that a lot. I think the noise is really clean. I think it looks really cool. I'm gonna make a video on that in the future, but at least for now, the film grain here, I think is good enough to get by with what you need to do. Like if you're just doing it for YouTube, I think that's great. I think if you're doing it for some client work, that's also gonna be great too. You have the ability to choose many different versions of grain. You can also customize it as well to make it fit exactly what you need it to, which I think is a really cool option. I'm just gonna leave it on 35mm 250, but I'm also gonna bring it down because I think it's way too heavy. So we'll bring it down to like 13 or something. I think that's fine. So if we go a little bit further down, we have halation. And right now it's disabled, but if I go ahead and enable it, you can sort of see what it's doing, at least from a far distance. But if we go ahead and zoom in, halation is a byproduct to film, and it's a very key characteristic to film. So it's cool that they offer it, and I think it's a really good version of halation. I've seen halation done many different ways, and I really like the way Dehancer does it. That being said, I also want to note, don't go overboard with it. Less is more. I promise you, less is more. Be very subtle when you use halation, because I've seen some people use quite a bit and it just doesn't look real. I mean, like, I don't know. I guess like creativity is its own thing. Personally, I want it to look as close to real as it can be. So I'm going to go ahead and just lessen it a little bit more. And I think right there is fine. Bloom is another thing that's disabled by default, but all Bloom is doing is it's just giving you a little bit of a glow to the highlight and the more white areas of the image. So if we enable it, you can kind of see that down here on the shorts and over here on the boat, it kind of became like just a little bit more glowy. So if I disable it and re-enable it, you can kind of see what it's doing. I'm going to leave it disabled. Film damage, self-explanatory. Film itself has the ability to kind of bring in some artifacting like dust, scratches, and stuff like that. So if you enable it, you'll obviously be able to add that to the clip. It's pretty CPU intensive, so I'm gonna leave it disabled along with film breath and gate weave, but both of those are also just more byproducts of film being film. And if that's something that you wanna do, enable it, adjust it. You also have the ability to make custom stuff, and they have other presets here that, again, I can't stress this enough. Dehancer does such a good job of letting you just be able to choose exactly what you need for whatever you need. If we scroll down just a little bit more, then we come to the overscan section, and the overscan section is another thing that's kind of more of like a creative tool. It's not necessarily something that you'll see when you go watch a film movie, but let's go ahead and enable it real quick so you can see what it looks like. And it just adds these film overlay to the clip to, you know, for whatever you might need it for, if you're trying to go for like a Super 16 or a Super 8 type look. So if we do Super 16, if we do Super 8, kind of just adjust it a little bit more. We can even do Ultra Panavision, which I think is really cool, but a little unnecessary. So I'm gonna go ahead and disable it. And down here we have a vignette, which I use on a lot of my clips. I think a vignette is one of those things that a lot of people tend to forget about or just not use in general, and boggles me, because a vignette is one of the best tools for a colorist or an editor to use to divert the viewer's attention to look at what you need them to look at. So for example, we can kind of see that the image as a whole is just pretty flat. Like you can see depth, there's people in the background, there's people up front, you have like a lot of depth going on in the image, but you don't really know where you're supposed to be looking. So if we go ahead and enable the vignette, and then we make it just a little bit more pronounced, I think right there is good. Then we can kind of see that the subject of the whole image that we're looking at right here is right here in the center. You can also adjust it by changing the X and the Y axis to, you know, adjust that focus. For now, I'm just gonna leave it the way it is because I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, no, I would highly recommend you use a vignette for a lot of the stuff that you're using. If we scroll down a little bit further, you have some other options here, monitor output, it just more niche technical things. The other thing I also wanna mention though is this LUT generator. So let's say you're working with a team and you have a look that you're going for and you're with a director and you finally fine-tune the look that you want. You can generate a LUT here to export it onto the monitor that you're gonna be using when you're filming, so you have a more one-to-one of what you're gonna look like when it actually is done being edited. I think that's a really cool option as well. And honestly, again, just a really good thing that Dehancer offers you here. Like, to be able to export a LUT like this is really cool. DaVinci does it already itself, but I think that this is just like another step towards being very, I don't know, transparent and very helpful. So big ups to them for doing that. So that's kind of like everything that the tool has to offer. Let's go ahead and look at some other clips. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag the Dehancer tool on, scroll up. I'm gonna go ahead and change the source again. So we're gonna choose camera, Fujifilm, X-T4. I'm gonna leave everything like that the same. I'm gonna go ahead and choose Kodak Portra 400. Nice. Then I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the black point and the white point. I think that's good. So we'll leave that there. Let's go ahead and check to see what these are doing. Ooh, a little too punchy. I like that. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna leave it on Endura. Then we'll scroll down. I'm gonna go ahead and bring down the grain because again, I think it's way too much. I kind of wish it was disabled by default, but you know, it's not that big of a deal. And I think that's good. Halation, let's see what that's doing. I kind of like the warmth it's bringing to the image. If we scroll into, look here at the helmet. Yeah. Okay, I really like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that there. Let's see what bloom is doing. Not a ton. You can kind of see it here on the helmet as well. I personally don't really like that, so I'm gonna leave it disabled. Film damage, film breath, gate weave, all gonna leave that disabled. Overscan, not necessary. A vignette, let's see. Yes, yeah, okay. Gonna leave the vignette on here. I think that's fine where it's at for default. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. So real quick, that took me like 20 seconds to do. That's kind of something that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which was like, I'm looking for a tool that can help me streamline my process and make it easier to color. And this does just that. This does a very good job of emulating film to the point where like, there's not a ton that's needed for like, in terms of like heavy lifting. Obviously you can really dive in, make this your own. But I think if you're trying to do YouTube videos or you're trying to do like short films or projects on your own, things that you're doing by yourself, I think this is a great tool to be able to use and like really finesse and find what your style is. So let's go ahead and drag this on here. Off rip. Oh, something I do want to mention. So this is the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K now. So we're gonna go ahead and choose camera, Blackmagic. I mean, that looks pretty good off rip. Obviously it needs to be adjusted exposure wise, but let's choose, let's choose Kodak Gold. Nice. Okay, cool. So we'll leave that there. Let's adjust the black point a bit. Yeah, that looks good. I think that's good right there. Let's see what 2383 does. Not bad, not bad. I actually think I'm gonna leave it on linear. I'm gonna leave it on linear for this one. And I'm gonna bring down the grain. Let's bring it down to like 10. Bring down the grain to like 10. Let's see what halation is doing. Not too much, but I'm gonna leave it enabled because I know it's a sunset clip. I know that halation is gonna be there, so I'm gonna leave it enabled. In terms of bloom, let's see. I kind of like what that's doing there, right on the edge of her skin right here. Yeah, gonna leave that enabled. Film damage, no, all of that's gonna stay disabled. A vignette here kind of seems like the obvious choice, so let's go ahead and enable it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that just makes sense. Cool, sweet, moving on. Let's go ahead and drag the Dehancer clip on, and then let's adjust it to my camera. And come down here. I'm gonna go ahead and choose, let's do 50D. What does that look like? No, I don't think that's the one for this one. Ultramax? Okay, okay. Kind of liking that. Let's bring up the black point, or down the black point. That looks good. That looks good. Let's see what these are doing. Ooh, that looks cool. Yeah, I like how punchy that looks. Yeah, let's go ahead and leave it there on 2383. I'm gonna bring down the film, or the film grain. Halation. This is one of those clips that I really wanted to see what it was gonna do. You can see it right here on the bottle. Let me zoom in. So if I go ahead and disable it and re-enable it, like that's exactly, that looks really good. So I'm gonna leave that enabled. Let's see what bloom does. Ooh, might be a little too much. Let's see. I kind of like what it's doing, but I'm gonna bring it down. I think it's a little too heavy. Cool, all of that I'll leave disabled. No vignette on this one just because it's already such low exposure, but again, like that, I'm doing this so quickly. Let's go to the next one. We'll do choose camera. And then for this one, let's do 500T. Let's do 500T. I'm gonna bring up the black point. Bring up the white point too. And then let's see what 2383 looks like. No, it's a little too punchy for me. Yeah, okay, cool. That's what I want. So we'll leave that there. Bring it down to like 10. Let's see what halation is doing. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it disabled just because I can kind of see that the halation is being affected here on the trees. And to me, that doesn't look very realistic. I could leave it enabled and bring it down a bit. And I think that's okay. I'll leave it like that. Bloom, let's see what bloom does. Not a ton, so I'm gonna leave it disabled. And then as far as the vignette goes, I do think this one warrants one. And yeah, that's it. Sick. Okay, cool. Let's go to the last clip. We'll make all the regular adjustments we've been doing. I mean, like, off rip, that looks really good. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it there at 250D. So let's go ahead and bring up the black point just a bit. I'm also gonna bring up the white point too. Yeah. Let's see, what does it look like on, and that looks good. That looks good. I think I'm gonna leave it on Endura. Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna leave it on Endura. Let's bring down the grain. Yeah. I like that. Let me show you what it's doing. Oh, that's too far. But like right here on the back of the neck, that subtlety right there is what makes the world of difference, and I really like that. So I'm gonna leave it there. For bloom, I'm gonna leave it enabled. I think it looks very subtle, so I'm gonna leave it enabled, but I'm just gonna bring it down. Everything else here is fine. A vignette here, also warranted. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Sorry about the abrupt change and the harsh edit. I ran out of time and I am now in Chicago. But I did want to talk about one final thing, and that is the Dehancer app. This app has truly changed the way that I go about taking photos. I take photos a lot of times when I can and if I can, like whether that's on my phone, the Fujifilm that I'm currently recording on. I recently bought a Digicam that I really love. When I take photos, I'm not there to take photos and like make things look extremely pretty, frame things up. I usually just kind of take photos of my day-to-day life. And when I do that, I don't want to have to offload those photos, upload them to Lightroom, and do all of that kind of stuff. So having an app like this on your phone is instrumental if you just are someone who likes to take photos casually. But I also would argue that if you like to take photos seriously, this is also something that you could also look into as well. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and I'll show you around. It's literally the same thing as the desktop version, which I think is really cool. So if we open up the Dehancer app and we go ahead, you can kind of see that here at the bottom, it'll show you like your most recent camera roll, but you can go ahead and click on open photo or video. And I have the album that I already have selected for this, but I have a few photos here and one video. And that's the really cool part too, is that this Dehancer app also edits video. So we'll go ahead and just select this one right here. And as you can see, we have a ton of film stocks here already. They're the same exact ones that you see on the desktop version. So I'm gonna go ahead and just select Kodak Portra 400. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose that. Right off rip, it looks pretty good, but I do wanna make some adjustments to it. So I'm gonna go to source. I'm gonna lower the exposure just a little bit. The temperature is fine. The tint is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it just a little bit more green. I think that's good. I'm also gonna adjust the white and black point. Yeah, that's good. And then if we go over here to film grain, I'm gonna change it to 35-50. Lower it down to like 25, I think. And I think that's good, at least for initial edit. So if we go ahead and look at the other ones, you'll notice that when I click on a new photo, those same edits that I did on the previous one carry over to the new one. And I think that's really cool, because if you do batch edits the way that I do, where I take photos like in a day, and a lot of the times they're in sort of the same environment, I don't need to go back and do the same edits. I can just, copy paste them. But Dehancer takes that a step further and already applies it to the next photo, which I think personally is very cool. Again, with that being said, that's already been applied. So that's really cool. It's gonna do the same thing for the other photos. So I think for the sake of this, I'm just gonna look at the video now. And like the photos, the actual adjustments that I made is applied to the video. And if we click play on it, it's choppy because there's a lot of processing happening here, but it applies it as if it's a LUT. And that means that you can take photos on your iPhone and have these film emulations applied on top of them, which is huge. That is so cool. But again, down here at the bottom, you have all of the same adjustments that you can make on the desktop version. I think that if you're able to get Dehancer, it's kind of a no-brainer. You have the desktop version that gives you a ton of customization, and then you have the mobile app version that gives you just the same amount of customization, along with editing on your iPhone, taking it on the go, and also just being able to upload multiple different cameras like my Digicam, my Fujifilm, my iPhone photos to be able to edit on the go on this mobile app. Dehancer pretty much just hit it out of the park with this whole cohesive setup, whether it's desktop or mobile version. So again, I cannot recommend this enough. If you have the means and you want to go ahead and purchase a subscription, go ahead and click the link down below to get 10% off your first purchase. The promo code should be notdarrengarcia. Let me know how you guys like it. If you guys have any more questions, please also leave them down below. I'll be more than happy to answer what I can. And yeah, other than that, I have another video I'm going to be making here in Chicago, so be on the lookout for that. But other than that, stay safe, be happy, and I'll see you guys soon.